Hi, everyone. My name is Damian Sheridan. I'm the co-founder of Scale and founder of the Book Direct Show. Not many people know that, but the Book Direct Show runs alongside Scale. We have our conference coming up in November, which we're going to have Becky and Craig and also Pierre Camille from Hospitable joining us on stage. So this is really just a kind of pre-event webinar. We know everybody's very interested in direct bookings and ways to generate direct bookings. So this is just really a casual chat with some panelists that we've invited to join us today. So very brief introductions from my side. We've got Becky Ward from Simply Owners, Miles Hobson from Hospitable, and Craig Webb from Webb Marketing. So guys, I'm going to pass it over to you. If you want to give us just a minute to introduce yourselves and maybe just a really quick line or two about why direct bookings are just so important at the moment. Becky, ladies first, I'm going to start with you.
Hi, I'm from Simply Owners. So direct bookings are important to us because that is literally all we do. We're a listings website and we essentially just put holidaymakers in touch with homeowners and help the homeowners build their own businesses without reliance on OTAs.
Miles, just how I can see it in order on my screen.
Sounds good. Okay. Yeah. Hello, I'm Miles. I'm with Hospitable. We are a property management software for individual investors and anyone up to property management companies managing hundreds of properties. I think really we see direct as being very important because we don't think that you should put all of your eggs in one basket. You should have diversification of channels and have your own website that you own as well.
Super. And Craig, last but not least.
Yeah, Craig Webb from Webb Marketing. I was a hotelier for 30 years and the middle of my P&L account was my pain point because everything went on commission. So that was the one thing I felt as a hotelier I could control, to try and reduce that commission. Couldn't really control the wages and the interest and everything else, but that bit was where I wanted to focus. And now I've left the hotel industry. I run a digital marketing agency and I'm a property owner myself, short-term rental owner. And it still is the biggest thing for me is to try to control who is booking your place and build brand identity. It's more than just a direct booking. It's building that relationship. And that's worth more than your bricks and mortar, your brand identity.
Love it, guys. Great start. And Miles, thank you for using the word diversification because that's a great word. In terms of this not being an anti-OTA event, we're not about telling people they shouldn't get away from Airbnb, Booking, Expedia, etc. That's obviously not what our message is here. It's about trying to push our brand, as Craig says, and really just do the things, all the goodness behind the scenes to give ourselves a chance to get some more direct booking. Okay, cool. Miles, I'm going to come to you. You obviously, as a PMS, you're quite heavily involved in different diversification channels, and Google Vacation Rentals was probably the one over the last 5 years. We all thought, oh, we need to get involved with Google and it's the next big thing, the elephant in the room. But it has not really perhaps happened as much as we'd expected. And I'm intrigued to know your thoughts, especially on that. What should we be thinking about Google Vacation Rentals? Should we be all in on it? Or perhaps is ChatGPT more important now? Would really value your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think everyone's looking for the magic wand, right? The magic, if I just do this, the direct bookings will flood in and book solid for the rest of the year, right? Google Vacation Rentals obviously hasn't become that. It hasn't materialized to that. We've seen that the trend of kind of bookings there is pretty steady. We've not really seen any kind of sharp increases year over year. It's pretty consistent. Hosts do get bookings there. I think just looked at the conversion rate yesterday. For people viewing a vacation rental on Google Vacation Rentals, about 9.5% actually click through to go to the website to go and potentially book. For us, it's one of those things where we say that we don't expect you to be getting all your bookings there. You might not get many bookings there, but it increases visibility. It's about being in more places. And the chance of getting a booking there is not zero. So why not be there? It's totally free to do. If you have a property management software, they typically do offer it as part of their direct booking website that you can go and get your website added to Google Vacation Rentals. So we always recommend to do it. There's a strong chance that potentially your property is already appearing there through Booking.com or Verbo or one of their affiliates. So you might already be getting bookings there. But obviously, if you are, those channels are taking more commission. So if you are showing up, why not actually have your direct site show up and not pay them commission for anyone that does book through it? right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
for us, it's very much it's not the answer to filling your calendar. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to drastically change overnight, but there's no harm in being there. We definitely recommend doing it, but it's not. Again, it's a case of not all your eggs in one basket. It's more diversification.
Are you surprised that it really hasn't evolved in a way that has taken over or cornered the market?
I'm a little surprised, but if anyone knows Google, this is what Google does. They launch something, probably don't put that much investment into it, and then just let it sit there for a while. So, yeah, I would have thought I'd see more. I personally love to use Google to search for vacations and look at flights and look at hotels and accommodation comparison. But I guess not that many people are doing that, and based on kind of the search volume that we're seeing there.
Interesting. Becky, just in terms of visibility, we've spoken about ChatGPT, Google Vacation Rentals, and I'm sure you have a listing site, and I know you really push your the direct bookings towards all of your owners and clients. But in terms of what you see your clients doing and what they do to try and get visibility, are there any mistakes, kind of continual mistakes, or things that you really see where there is room for improvement, just in terms of like search visibility and maybe branding or something like that?
You've got basic, make sure the front end of your site, the loading speed is right. If they're setting up their own websites, very often the loading speed is really slow. So we send people through to their websites and then people fall away because the loading speed isn't there. But the main key one that I would say you need to get right from day one really is getting the right domain name. So if your domain name's wrong, we've got a client who works really quite closely with us, and her domain name was Jules Gozo Holidays. So obviously Gozo Holidays, you put that in and you're competing against Jet2, TUI, you're competing against all these huge giant chains, whereas nobody's going to physically type in Jules Gozo Holidays. What she did obviously was come to us and say, how can I fix this? How can I make this better? So she listed her properties with us. We got all like the key search terms in there for us. We did a load of SEO with her on her individual website and on our side of things. And now because she's got the traffic coming through from us for Villa Rentals Gozo, not only are we front page, but she's now also front page. So her individual website is there, even though it's Gozo Holidays, she's getting up there.
Okay.
Make sure your domain's right in the first place, so then you don't have to worry so much about that fix. Get your key search terms in there and try not to make it too wide a name, too wide a reach, because if you've got a specific niche that is your unique selling point, that, for example, you do farm stays or you're a skiing property, that is your unique selling point. Work on it. Go for that particular market because that's who you want in your property, because they're going to give you the best reviews because it fits what they're looking for and it's going to work well for you too. So what I would say is don't go too wide with your SEO. Yes, use your SEO. Brilliant. Get all those keywords in there as much as you can, but don't go too wide with that. Focus in on what your specific property has that can sell it. I think that's basically how I'd fix the domain name issue. So maybe think about listing with other sites that are already up there for those key terms as well.
Sure. Craig, anything to add? I'm sure like keywords is something that is probably on your brain day in, day out, every minute of the day.
Yeah, there's probably a couple of things I'd add to that. You mentioned right at the end, find the sites that are ranking. So if you've got farm stays, for example, you said it. So type in farm stays in your area, what website comes up, and there is probably a kind of a referrer like Simply Owners that already ranks really highly for that key term. So it's standing on the shoulder of giants. You go, okay, let's register on their website. Yeah, so I do insurance stays and corporate stays. Find those insurance stay providers in your area, list on their websites. That's probably the easiest way of doing that. And then regarding the keywords, I ask people to put three things together. Either the type of person they're looking for, and that could be the reason they're visiting, like romance, or it could be hiking, or something they're near. So it could be an employer, big employer, and the type of property they are. Because accommodation is not a search term. It is not, because you don't know from that intent whether they want a hotel, a yurt, an Airbnb, an igloo, or a campsite. Accommodation is not a search term as far as I'm concerned. Yes, it needs to feature in your website, but you need to tell it, or Google and the person, what accommodation. Is it a condo? Is it a campsite? Is it a caravan? Is it a cottage? They're vastly different. And we have to be clear on that. So what you're near, who you're offering it to, and the type of property. That will get you about 80% of the way with SEO.
Great point. And you need to make sure you spell accommodation the right way as well.
Two C's, two M's.
Come across so many companies over the years spell it with one M. That's my little gripe. Yeah, I want to talk about trust as well, guys. And we are going to talk about this more in Manchester as well. So I'm not going to go in too much. Becky, I know you probably could speak about this for an hour, but just in terms of when a prospective guest or traveler is on our website, for example, we know it's very hard to try and convert them to a booking, to get them to trust what we know is a legitimate site, but they don't know. So I want to just ask you all briefly your thoughts on this. Scams are a huge thing still, and they have been for many years. And I'm intrigued to know from you, Becky, you obviously have a very trustworthy website where a lot of bookings are generated and are transacted every day. How do you think operators can signal safety and legitimately right off the back and in an easy fashion without costing an arm and a leg?
So be honest in your listing. Honesty is really key to gaining that trust. So you don't want somebody to turn up who thinks your property is suitable for wheelchairs, and actually they get there and there's a step to get in the front door. It's not fair on anyone. It doesn't get you good reviews. It doesn't earn you any respect from anyone. So be honest in your actual description of your listing, and say in your listing, there may be noise that comes from the farm next door, because people might love to look out the window and see the sheep outside, but they might not appreciate the sheep barring at 6 o'clock in the morning. So they need to be aware that that might be there. And it might make the difference between whether they book or not. And if they don't want the sheep at 6 a.m. in the morning, then your property isn't right for them, is it? So that's trust. To increase your own trust in terms of what you can put on your website to make people trust you more, I would put an About Us section. So I would tell them who you are when you started the business, what you do other than the business. I would make sure that your company registration is there so they can go and check you out on Companies House. They can make sure that you are legitimate and you own the company. I would also, this is one that our owners don't seem to want to do, is fill in your calendars. Actually put the bookings on your booking calendar when you get a booking. I don't know if they think it makes them seem like they're fully booked so people won't inquire, but actually it's a red flag to guests, because they see that there's no bookings on the calendar and they think, oh, nobody's booking this property. There must be something wrong with it. If you get a booking, put it on your calendar. It's a good thing. It means that your property is being used. Same with your reviews. Keep your reviews up to date. People leave you a review in your guest book, upload it to your website. It shows your property is being used. It shows that people are visiting and enjoying it. You can put little things on there like how long you've been in business. I'm sure Miles and Craig will go into all the safety side of things. Yes. But yeah, and if you're listing with a listing company, make sure they offer something like what we do, which is like the payment protection. So every owner who comes onto our site is verified. We do vetting and security on everybody and every property to make sure that there are no spoof properties on the site. So being able to put a banner across the top of your own website that we're on Simply Owners and we can offer you a payment protection certificate, that's huge. People really respect that you can give them some form of proof that you are a trustworthy owner.
Great suggestions there. Yeah, thanks, Becky. Miles, I'll come to you as a PMS provider and someone who provides tech in our industry. Are there any, in terms of technology, are there any kind of non-negotiables, essential things we should be looking at that can, again, just enhance the level of trust on our websites?
Yeah, definitely. I think Becky made a good point there about having the booking calendar show up and actually show that you're booked. Obviously, if you're connected to property management software, hopefully that's doing that for you as part of their booking widget and their booking flow. And then I'd really think about, from a tech perspective, it is the booking flow. I think about even more. Becky's already done a good job of kind of talking about like the front-facing element of the website. I'm sure Craig will add some more points on that. But once they actually go to, okay, I do want to book this property, it's all the way throughout the checkout process, there needs to be trust signals, right? So making sure that you're accepting credit cards that are known credit cards, right? Your MasterCard, your Visa, Amex, Google Pay, Apple Pay, right? All throughout that process, it needs to be a smooth process, and it needs to follow this suggested design methods for kind of e-commerce checkouts, vacation rental checkouts that we should follow, and it needs to work, right? If there's a big delay or anything, it looks like it's doing something dodgy, people might back away and abandon their cart. I think as well, you talked about verifying the owners. What I think is really important is trust goes both ways. And so something that I encourage all hosts to do is also be vetting your guests for your direct booking. So that's something that we do as part of the booking flow, is that you actually vet the guest as well. So you can see that they're selfie matching their ID. They are who they say they are. It is them that's going to be staying at your property. And that's super useful for when it comes to any kind of fraudulent chargeback attempts. If you're not the merchant of record, you have a lot of work to do to prove they are who they say they are. Why we do the guest vetting during that process is so that we can go and fight that for hosts, and we basically have that evidence of their name matches the credit card, their photo matches their ID. It was them that booked it, even if they're saying that they didn't stay there, kind of thing. So I think, it's just super important to think about a secure payment flow and making sure that you're protecting yourself, not just putting out that trust signal to guests as well.
Craig, I know you work with a lot of hosts and property managers with their websites and with their website design. Is there anything in terms of the design of the site itself? And if that's elements across the site, colors, wording, anything like that, that you think that can help us really influence that traveler to consider booking on our site, as opposed to that horrible moment when they go back to the OTA and they book there, and you've had a conversation with them and you wonder why the heck didn't they book direct with you, because it would have saved everyone. What can we do?
What's not been covered already? There are definitely other trust signals you can have on your site, and there are definitely things you can do to help with the design. One of the top mistakes I see is people trying to give all of the information on the home page, but people's brains can't absorb it, and we've got to break it down for them. And I call it the domino effect. Most people call it a sales funnel, but I like to think of it as a domino. You've knocked the first domino over, and hopefully they'll go all the way to the end. So we need to give them the information they only want at that point in their sales journey, which is, what is your accommodation type and where is it? Yes, you have a yurt in the Cotswolds. That's what I want. Tick. Now we go and click on the individual page for the yurts, and then we can see the facilities and everything we have. And again, at that point, we have different questions. Yeah, and put yourself in the mind of someone who's never been to your website before. They don't know your property. So break it down into manageable chunks. Now they're on your individual page, they have a different set of questions. How many beds does it have? What's the bed configuration? Can I bring my dog? Yes, perfect. I can bring my dog and it sleeps 2 adults and 3 children. That's just what I'm looking for. Now, at this point, they're still not worried about an EV charger or the cancellation policy. So then they click through to the next page to actually book, and they have a different set of questions. What's the cancellation policy? What times check in? What times check out? So you see what I'm doing? I'm breaking it down into phases rather than overwhelming people to try to get them through to that end part where they just take their credit card out. It's felt easy. It's felt like the owner knows me and they know what the question I have next is the owner has just put the answer in front of me as I've gone through this sales funnel. So they're the things I would try to do. Just try to get Granny to have a look at your website, and can she understand it? So that's the main takeaway of that bit. The other thing that I think the other guys missed was possibly having a domain email address, which is my huge bugbear. When you've paid whatever, $30 a year for your domain name, and it costs pennies to have a domain email address. And the amount of websites I see where it's like hollylovestoto@gmail.com. What? What is that? You've had it since you were 16 and you're still using it. Just set up a professional domain email address. That is the trust signal right there. That may be a landline number if you can have one, Because if it's just a Gmail and a mobile, anyone, the guy from Nigeria could have set that up, put that website up. So those little trust signals I think are really important. The last one would be your About Us page. Please make it about you. And when I say make it about you, have a picture of you, why you got into this, the pain point that you saw that customers were having. And by answering that, you're also making it about the customer, because you're promising within those words that you're going to help them with their need and that you understand their need. So that's what the About Us page is about, is getting across that you understand what the customer's looking for and you're going to deliver it with a picture of you. The amount of times it doesn't have a picture of them, that's quite frustrating.
Well, a question to all of you about an About Us page, and I totally agree, by the way. It adds legitimacy, genuineness to your website and to your whole offer. What about those people who say, I don't want a photo of me on my website. I'm quite a private person. I really don't want a photo on my website, which is really common. What's to come back to that? Anyone?
I'll go. I'll just say, get over it.
Okay.
You're running the business.
I had to have some professional ones done the other day and I was cringing, but you've got to do it. You've got to get your face out there.
Okay, that's our next webinar title. Just get over it. Okay, I just want to move on to one final. We're 37 minutes in, so actually we're gonna have to finish up sometime soon. I'll stay with you, Craig. A lot of people will say you mentioned ease of booking, and I know one of the hardest things we've got to compete with the big OTAs is how easy it is to make a booking, like a 2-click booking on some of these OTAs. Can we compete with them in any of our SEO, in our content, anything we do with our website specifically? What can we do to compete?
I say this a lot, and I said it in Barcelona actually, Damian, and I think there were so many people using this term. I think you banned it halfway through the conference, and that term was riches in the niches.
Yeah, I did. And it's being mentioned tomorrow as well, I saw in our slides. Yeah.
It's a bit of an Americanism, and rich doesn't rhyme with niche. We Americanize it and it works. I've launched my own Book Direct website about 2 months ago, and I rank number 2 in Milton Keynes for midterm stays and I think it's relocation accommodation or insurance accommodation. If we can build pages about specific keywords, we can rank, including on the new AI overview. Yes, we can beat Google. And within a week of launching these specific pages about specific search terms, I was ranking above Airbnb and Booking.com and Simply Owners on the homepage for Milton Keynes. But that's a city, and I'm 1 2-bedroom property. But if you can create enough good content on one page about a specific keyword, it's worth doing. And that page, if take insurance accommodation, you might get a 1 6-month booking in 5 years. But if that's all you get, surely that's been worth building one web page that fills one property for 6 months. It has to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the riches are in the niches. That's what I'd say. Just keep creating new pages or blogs about niche terms, and you'll become what's called the expert. Google has an algorithm called EAT, experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And if you can create enough content which is local and relevant to your business, whether it be things to do, things to see, employers, etc., then you should rank locally. And I did some work with Simply Owners actually, looking at towns in Cornwall in particular, and the local operators were all ranking above the big OTAs because there were local operators with local content and local experts. So that's what I take away from that.
I'd wholeheartedly agree. Louise is in the background here, and she's sick of me telling this story. But I used to have a holiday apartment in a local village in Spain, and I just wrote everything about that particular village. Everything I could. I used to use Google Alerts, predictive text on Google, anything I could write. One page that I wrote was about bars that show football in this town, and that was simply it. And I went around and I found all the bars, and I said, yeah, they show the Premier League, they show La Liga, etc. And somebody saw that. They didn't stay that time, but they came back to me the next time, and that was worth nearly 2 years of bookings in the end. So it was phenomenal. And it's not something you would think that, bars showing football would really make much of a difference. You think it's be more direct related to the accommodation with 3Ms, but I know that it really is worthwhile. But yeah, great shout. Becky, what, in terms of misconceptions about direct bookings, we're coming close to the end here. What are the most common misconceptions about direct bookings? Because they're evolving. They've evolved for many years. And you see this, it's at the heart of Simply Owners.
I think the biggest misconception is people are scared that it's going to be harder work. List it on the OTAs, the money just drops in your bank, it's easy. But actually, you've done all the work anyway. So you've written your description, you've been to the photographer and had your photographs taken, you've made sure your keywords are in there, you've done the work. So use it for your own benefit. We see no end of Facebook posts where the person has gone onto Facebook offering their property, but then the link they put at the bottom is the link to somewhere where they're going to pay commission. And you think, why wouldn't you just put your link to your own website and take the payment on your own website? It's like they've done the extra hard work of getting that booking straight from Facebook or whichever channel they're using, and then Instagram or whatever, and then put the link to somewhere you're going to pay commission. Use what you've already done to your advantage. So we've now got 20% of our owners are now fully direct. They don't do any other form of bookings. And 65% of our owners actually say that over half of their bookings are direct. So they've started out with just maybe 2 or 3 that were direct. And then gradually every year they've built their brand. They've built their return guests, their custom list. Every year they send out their email to returning guests and see if they'd like to come for an offer, or you are your business's most powerful long-term asset. Use what you've already created to benefit you and your business. Grow that brand, make people want to come to be part of the business because of you. That's the whole thing, isn't it? With trust, they are buying into you and what you are selling. So yeah, it's not harder work. You've already done the work.
And in terms, so you mentioned things like becoming a merchant of record and maybe screening guests and things like that. Do you think they're just things we need to overcome in our head as opposed to the actual work that we need to put into this?
I think that for our owners in particular tend to be maybe an older generation. So I think that maybe the technology that's coming in, yes, might throw them a little bit. However, once you've actually gone out there and given it a try, for example, using somebody like Hospitable to do those checks for you, because you can buy in the little bits of tech that you do actually want. So, for example, the guest verification, and you can buy all those aspects in. Then no, the first time you've done it, yes, it's scary, but after that, it just becomes part of the routine.
You mentioned Hospitable, and that's a nice segue to Miles in terms of tech. Are there any things that we should be aware of, Miles, in this day and age that's not going to cost us a fortune, but that will help us get potentially a few more bookings over the line?
Oh, yeah, good question. I mean, for us, I don't know if this is necessarily a tech answer, but for us, we actually see that maybe people spend too much time on their website at the start. I know we've talked about getting your website right and making it perfect and having all these trust signals. To start, we always recommend that hosts have a good enough website, right? A lot of the property management softwares have templates to get you started out of the box. You can display your property nicely. You can get going. You can have your own custom domain, super important. What we advise is that it's good to get some traction going. Start working on your social media profile, get your Instagram going and get posting there to start building a following and getting traction to your website. Get writing those blog posts, start getting featured on different websites so you can improve your SEO ranking. Start doing all these things. Becky talked about having a brand, but building your brand in different places outside of the OTAs and actually building an awareness on channels that you own, such as Facebook and Instagram. And then once you actually start seeing some traction there, and you actually start getting a following, you start getting bookings from those channels. The bookings that you get from your direct site, you can reinvest that into building like the really nice custom website that's going to have a higher conversion rate, sure. But I think it takes time to start building the traction to bringing your own direct bookings versus trying to bring people across from an Airbnb and Booking.com. You might get those repeat bookings, sure. But to get those completely net new bookings, I personally think it can take a couple of months to start seeing the traction, and you need to lay the groundwork. So always suggest to start laying that groundwork with getting your social media profile set up and getting going there, and then actually worrying about the super custom website second, personally. I may offend Craig there by saying that.
You've all mentioned social media. Quick question: what social media platform is your one of choice? Which would you recommend? Facebook, Insta?
I'd go Facebook. My kids call me Boomer, so Facebook.
I'm meaning Instagram just to be different. I think and in Instagram you can really showcase your property and really kind of a bit more of a narrative around the short-term rental business you're building.
Okay, super. Final question, just quick one for you all. What's one direct booking shift you think operators need to be prepared for on heading into 2026? 30 seconds each. Becky, ladies first.
So I reckon it's got to be getting ready for AI and the long language models. So we've gone out there and we have commissioned a PR company to start getting our name known across the board for our site in particular. You've got to be ready for it. It's on its way. Oh, it's already started, hasn't it?
Miles?
Yeah, I wish I'd gone first because I'm going to say the same thing. So there's obviously those aspects you can prepare for language learning models. I think something that we can't really prepare for yet, but we need to keep our finger on the pulse on is ChatGPT and kind of the operator mode and apps within ChatGPT. So we've already seen Booking.com partner with ChatGPT so that you can now actually do a Booking.com booking from ChatGPT. You don't have to go to a web browser. I think eventually we're going to get to the point where people are booking a direct booking website through ChatGPT. We're not there yet, but we kind of have to keep our finger on the pulse of what does that mean and how is that going to impact the way people interact with your website or the ways AI interact with your website as well.
Craig?
I think the speed of booking. People want to book like straight away, like 2 clicks. They want to have something reserved, probably when they're on the road, not driving, but on their mobile. Really simple to get from landing on your page to making a reservation to having a confirmation. And the speed of response, maybe. The message center is often very busy, isn't it, in these like Airbnb, and people want immediate replies. So even if it's on your direct booking website, you need an alternative to Airbnb message center like WhatsApp or something for people to be able to quickly reach out to you and quickly get a response. And the demand levels of customers is just going up and up all the time. The other thing I think works every time is wagon wheels. Just leave some wagon wheels in the property. People love them. Leave you a good review, right? It's all. That is the answer to everything.
Holding you to that, Craig, next time you come to see us.
That's the big takeaway then from this webinar. It's all about the wagon wheels. I see there are a couple of questions. I'm just going to jump in. Emma has asked a question, which I think Craig has jumped in on, but can anyone confirm what the GDPR limits are to contacting previous guests and timescales? Great question, and one that I'm not entirely sure of. Craig, you've answered this. Do you want to say
if they're booked with you, if you're contacting a person pertaining to a transaction they've had in the past, that's legitimate. So if you buy a washing machine, that washing machine company is able to reach out to you in a year's time or whatever and say, do you want an extended warranty? That's not spam, that's reaching out. And if someone books and stays with you for their birthday, it's perfectly legitimate to reach out a year later and say, your birthday's coming up, do you want to come again? So it's pertaining to that transaction. When you reach out, they should have an opportunity to unsubscribe. And ideally, they should double opt in the first place. But if they haven't, as long as they can unsubscribe easily, I think it's fair game.
Would you agree in terms of somebody who's made an inquiry on your site?
Maybe ask them if they would like to join the mailing list. I think that would be an opt-in.
Yeah. Becky, Miles, would you agree? Have you any thoughts on GDPR, or is it something you just want to avoid answering?
I'd love to just gloss over it, but I agree with what Craig said there. Obviously, ideally, you're opting people into most, and that's like the safest check is making sure they're actually double opt-in. They check a checkbox and then they receive an email and confirm their subscription. That's the safest way to go.
Yeah, great. There's one other question. Annabelle's asking about pricing in Simply Owners. Possibly best to get in contact with Becky about that, yeah, in terms of working that out. So she probably has the best hints for you there, Annabelle. So I'll refer you to Becky. I think that's it. Lou, have I missed any questions here? I think I've got, oh, you've got one more from Mr. Richard Vaughton. Any advice on pricing to compete? So great question, Richard. Obviously, we just think of the commissions saved, and do we rate parity? Do we go lower? Do we match? Should we not at all? Should we just work on the benefits that we have? So guys, I'd love your opinions on this. Thank you, Mr. V.
I think Richard knows the answer to this, but he's trying to throw us a curveball because he's better than any of us in this industry.
Let's show different.
So he's laughing at us right now. I think longer stays and value add. So longer stays, big discounts for direct, and I think value adds as well for short stays like early check-in, late check-out, that sort of thing.
Guys, anything to add on that? Pricing, should we reduce our fees our costs by 15% just to match the
owners
commission?
do. We see owners that do and we see owners that don't. So lots of owners keep their base price the same, but then obviously there's no booking fees or commission. So actually the guest ends up paying less because the owner still gets what they want out of it. So they pass that saving on to the guest. However, lots of owners half and half it. So they put their price up a little bit, but the guest will still save because the guest still isn't paying the booking fees. So it depends on you. Personally, I would probably pass that on to the guest because I think then they're more likely to book with you again. I would definitely offer for returning guests. I would definitely offer discounts if they book directly with you because it will just get them to come back time and time again.
Miles, anything to add?
I think it's a good question, Richard. I think we typically see a lot of hosts essentially split the difference and not taking all of that commission saved for themselves, but giving half of it as a saving to the guest and then keeping half of it for themselves as extra revenue. So it's a good middle ground that we see a lot of hosts doing.
Yeah, that's great. To be honest, on a personal front, when I traveled, I always check an OTA and go and check direct. And it's staggering how often the direct price is even more expensive. So I think so long as you're coming in a little bit cheaper, I don't think we need to be reducing down by a huge amount and trust in the value of our own offer. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for attending, for your questions. And we hope to see as many of you as possible in just 3 weeks now in Manchester. And we're going to have a full house. We've a phenomenal amount of tickets even sold today. Yeah, we're really excited about it. Looking forward to seeing Pierre from Hospitable, Miles, and both Becky and Craig. Really looking forward to having you. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you soon.